What's up, YouTube? You checking out the Frequent Flyer, and this is my quick review of the Walkera Rodeo 150 mini FPV racing drone, and this is it right here. And I must say that this thing has surprised me. I was very surprised at how small it is. I don't know why, but for some reason I was expecting this thing to look larger than what it really is. But thus the size 150, it is a small multi-rotor. And this thing is awesome. A lot of nice power in this. Now, the power isn't that apparent with this. When you're flying it, it feels just like the 200, the Blade 200 QX. So, feels normal. But when you kick the throttle all the way up on this thing, it turns into a rocket. So this thing is very fast. The motors on it look to be the same size as the motors that are on the XK Whirlwind, the X251, and the posts seem to be just as skinny too, just as thin. I think the posts will probably fit I think the props from the Whirlwind would fit on this, but it wouldn't have room to turn. But I think it fits the post though. So very nice flying aircraft this thing is. Only thing is I don't like some of the proprietary things that they did to it. Like for instance, the motor posts, they have their own little size there that they're dealing with, and the prop size is their own little size, so you can't really use any other props on here unless you cut them down. And the battery connection is the same connection as the Hubsan H501S. And so I really didn't like that. It's not really a common connection for a battery or power source. My hobby grade charger doesn't even charge those type of batteries, so you have to buy an adapter in order to get it to charge on your hobby grade charger. But they do supply you with a charger, but it's not hobby grade. It's just a little power brick with the it does charge 3S and 2S batteries though, so that makes me wonder if they're going to be able to put out a to be able to put out a 3S battery that will fit this thing. I'm very curious if this thing would run a 3S LiPo, because that's one of the things that I didn't like about it as well, is the fact that it's only 2S. Just like the Blade 200 QX, I wish that thing would have compatibility with 3S LiPos, man. I just think there's just a ton more power and flexibility if you allow these aircrafts to accept the 3S LiPo. It's better flight, it's a stronger flight, more commanding maneuvers and stuff like that. But for the most part, this thing isn't lacking in power at all. It might not be apparent when you first start flying it though, because it takes a little bit of throttle to get this thing up off the ground. But like I said, when you kick the throttle up, this thing jumps out of the building. So this thing is pretty nimble, and it's pretty light too. I don't really have my scale. I haven't found my scale. I lost my scale, so I can't really give you guys a weight on this, but it feels lighter than the X251 for sure. It's smaller than it though, so you would expect it to be. Just to do a size comparison, let me see something that you guys are familiar with probably. The U807, and check it out. It's smaller than the U807, definitely. Let's see, let's get a micro out here. Probably not a good thing to size compare it with. But this is JXD 392. And you can see it's larger than that though. Let's see, what else do I have nearby? The Skydreamer Plus is something good to compare it with, I guess. This is the Skydreamer Plus. So you can see it's even smaller than the Skydreamer Plus. So, a pretty small footprint with this thing. The FPV camera is excellent on here. It shows an excellent picture, and it does tilt up all the way. It tilts pretty far up the angle. Let me show you guys. Look at that. and downward angle too. You can give it a lot of negative angle as well. I don't know why you would want to do that, but you can. And it has LEDs in the front, no LEDs in the rear, so no night flying with this really, unless you're going to be FPVing, because this camera seems to see in the dark pretty well. And there's a bright headlight right here, actually two of them, and that lights the way pretty well, so you can probably do FPV with this thing at night and be able to see pretty well. And there's another LED here on the side, but it's red, and it's just an indicator light, just to let you know when you reach LVC it starts to flash. And this thing also features a buzzer. It has a buzzer alarm in it, so if you crash it, it starts to beep, the buzzer goes off, and for LVC the buzzer goes off. So that's pretty awesome. The other thing about this is that the body is fully plastic now, but I must say this is some durable plastic. I did fly it a couple times at night, and I was able to see it line of sight, but I wouldn't say it's a really good night flyer, but I was able to keep my orientation by the bright LED at the front, the bright headlights there. But once you turn it around and it's flying away from you, you don't see anything. Maybe a red LED on the side every once in a while, you'll get a glimpse of it when you're turning, but for the most part you don't see this thing when it's flying away from you. Also, this thing, they don't have throttle cut programmed in the Evo 7 already, and I think that's something that should be implemented. Definitely, if you have this, I do recommend putting a throttle cut in there, setting up one of these switches on here to do a throttle cut. You have to program it, because when this thing flips over, you have to hold this throttle stick to the inner lower corner for about 3 seconds before the motor stops. The motors will continue to turn when it crashes. So that's one thing I didn't like. It doesn't have a failsafe for the crash, it seems like, but there is a failsafe though. When you lose signal, the props only spin for about 4 seconds before it's not even 4 seconds, maybe 3 seconds, and then it turns off when you lose signal. So that's pretty cool. These antenna here, they do fold away, so if you crash it, they don't break off or anything, they just fold out of the way. So that's pretty awesome. I think they could have given us a cloverleaf antenna for the FPV there. They just gave us this little one here, but for the most part that works pretty well. It's been working well for me. And the battery bay is very small and tight. You have to push this little button up there and slide it back. It's hard to get these wires, the connectors, to stay in there when you first do it. You get used to doing it though. You have to fold this balancing cable in the front there. You have to put that in first, like that, and then you're able to slide the battery down and connect this, and then you'll be able to, there's a little gap there, so the wires will fit up under it once you slide it back on. Let me see, I'm not going to plug it up now. Oh, this thing is pretty noisy too when you're binding it initially. When you first turn it on, there's a lot of beeping going on and everything. It's just a really noisy quad when you're getting it started up, getting it down to the transmitter. So you can see I'm having a little trouble closing it up now. The battery, I should have taken the battery out, but let me get the battery out to show you guys the battery. I'll just close this back up without the battery in there. Keep the battery out. Now the battery is a 850 milliamp hour battery, and it's hard to find spares for this, but I did find a spare on eBay, and it's actually 30C discharge rate. This doesn't have a discharge rate indication on it, so I don't know what's the discharge rate on this one, but it's probably like 25C or whatever. So the one on eBay is a little tiny bit more oomph for it, just 30C. And It's about 15 bucks. So, and you're gonna have to buy these things from Walkera or search hard to find this kind of connector on the battery. This isn't very common. The same connector that's on the Hubsan H501S. Oh, rubber landing feet on it, so pretty nice landing on it. It has an RX port here, so you can put your own receiver on here. I think it supports Spectrum, and I can't remember what else. Well, I know it's PPM and what's it, FlexiPort? No, S-Bus, I'm sorry. It supports S-Bus and PPM, so you can switch between the two. And there's a USB port here for upgrading the firmware. And there's a little rubber thing here. You can remove this, and there's a bind button in there, so you can bind it to another transmitter. So that's pretty awesome. What else? My cat seems to be locked out. It sounds like a whole person trying to get in that door there. But I'm going to leave him back there. The transmitter is pretty nice. The Devo 7 is in the same chassis that the Devo 10 is in. Not as many knobs and switches and everything, but it's the same chassis for the most part. But the menus in the LCD screen is a little different. It's not the same. So I'm not very familiar with the operating system on this one, but I'm pretty sure you can program things in it. It just doesn't have enough memory to install deviation on it. But the gimbals feel really nice, just like Devo. Well, it is a Devo. The knobs and gimbals on it just feel really nice. Nice flying with it. Nice resolution and very proportional control and input and all. Just really awesome. But a lot of these switches don't do anything. I imagine you can program them for things like throttle cut and different rates and all of that. But so out of box, stock, the only thing that really does anything is the mix. So the mix switch, if you have it on 0, it's beginner mode where there's auto leveling. And then when you put it to the 1 position, then it's intermediate mode. That's like a horizon mode. It will flip all the way over, but there's a little auto leveling. But then when you switch it down to 2 on the mix, the 2 position is full acro, no auto leveling. So you can do all your flips and rolls and do your FPV in that mode, really. For hardcore FPV guys, you're going to be flying in the 2 mode, the 2 position on the mixer. And so that's all there really is to say about it. Awesome flying little aircraft. It comes with a USB cable for the update, and you have an L wrench to take it apart, get inside if you want to install something or do some repair. It comes with a little wrench also to help to tighten and loosen the props. You have to use this wrench to hold the motor still. And oh yeah, the transmitter comes with this battery bay thing here. It can be removed, and you can use a 3S LiPo, so that's pretty awesome. That's what I've been using in here. And this is the charging block here. It takes 2S and 3S batteries for charging. And this is the power brick here. And the instructions manual is pretty nice. Pretty nice looking instructions manual. Detailed English in here, lets you know everything you need to do. Explains everything. And so that's it. The Walkera Rodeo 150. A really awesome little quad. Thanks for watching.